Ladies and gentlemen, it is crunch time. Welcome to round 8 of 11 in the Invictus Racing League. F1 over here on the Xbox, where we find ourselves in Montreal, Canada, where we celebrate 50 years of F1 racing in the country north of the border, in a city where all of the buildings are connected by over 20 miles of underground tunnels. And we are really getting to crunch time here. Somebody may need to use one of those tunnels to try to navigate their way through the field here today. It's a 2.7 mile lap. It'll be 34 laps that we have around this track with 2 DRS zones, and we could see speeds of up to 210 miles an hour. 14 turns and 6 heavy braking zones where you slam on the brakes and try to take as much speed into those corners as you can as we go into turn 1 where the drivers squeeze and compact as they head into the right-hander that is turn 2. And down at the other end of the track where turn 10 hairpin simply invites a late lunge down the inside as the track widens. The runoff areas are long. Who on earth may risk their front wing heading into there? And then, of course, turns 13 and 14, the Wall of Champions. Who can get the lines right and who can keep the car on the track as well. As far as the tires, we have the softest in the Pirelli range, the C3, the C4, and the C5. We expect a soft to hard strategy, but it could be that a soft to medium is quite quicker, with the mediums being 0.8 of a second slower than the softs, and the hards 1.6 seconds slower than the softs. And of course, around Montreal, weather is always likely to pop up no matter what kind of race you're in. The intermediate and the wet tires are available should we need them at any point in the race. But for the last 2 weeks, we have seen wet conditions, and after last week's win in the monsoons of Monza, HK leading the championship by 1.5 points over DJ Danny and 7.5 points over James F1. HK taking advantage of the Racing Point and Renault's poor performance, and the trio themselves starting to break away from the rest of the field. In the Constructors, Racing Point still out front, but for how much longer? Because turmoil within the Red Bull garage has led the lead, being replaced by Ryan 97, and the Red Bull team only sitting 1.5 points behind the Pink Panthers. And I think with only a handful of races left to go, Kendo, we could see quite the ending to this.
Certainly can. And I was just about to say, by the looks of things, there might be some sort of technical difficulties, because as you can see, quite a few drivers have just started leaving with the host migration, so we may need to have a restart here. We will soon find out in a second. We'll get confirmation of this very, very shortly. But yes, it was an interesting race, we've got to say, considering after last week's race we had a conversation off stream, and how wrong were we? It had everything in that race. And considering, as you say, Sir Sharks is in the lead with his teammate on 91 points for Racing Point. It's anybody's season, and same with the drivers. Been a huge swing for HK. DJ Danny had a strong advantage at one stage of the race, but he seems to be losing his grip on the championship. Could the pressure be starting to show on DJ Danny? But we'll find out in a bit. What's your feeling on what's happening at the moment?
Well, as we have a few moments, it seems now, to restart the lobby and discuss a few things. It almost seems like if you're James F1, the consistency hasn't been the key here, because the two drivers in front of you, well, one of them's DNF'd at one point, yep, and the other has retired in the pits and found himself in the wall and still leads the championship. So even though you've scored a minimum of 4 points every race, you still don't find yourself in the lead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the league table as of right now. James F1, the highest position he's got is second. He's had 2 seconds of third, while his opponents, we'll start with DJ Danny, who's second in the tables, had 3 first, the second, as you now. He was the one that had the DNF in Germany, and then he's had 4 and 5 points in Brazil and Italy, respectively. Now, HK, he has had 2 first, 2 seconds, and then he's had a 7.5, he's had a 4, and he's not scored a single point in Brazil. So it goes to show that there's been not quite the consistent driving that we've thought about in previous weeks. About consistency is the key. The top 3 are not quite getting in the flow of things through week on week. Maybe it's to do with the tracks that have been selected throughout this little mini season. But we have 11 races. But again, they might be starting to think about the new game, because I'm for one excited for that coming out. New game mechanics to get used to.
Yeah, it's always a way to close out, shall we call it, the game year when the summer always rolls around and introduces a whole host of new additions to series. But in terms of the Drivers' Championship, I mean, you have HK, 2 wins, 4 podiums. You have DJ Danny, 3 wins, 4 podiums. James F1 still doesn't have a win. How badly is not having a win? Especially because he does have 2 pole positions to his name. Remember, he had pole position in Brazil and had pole position in Hungary. He couldn't convert any into wins. How bad is that hurting him?
Very much so, considering the fact that it must frustrate him, considering the other drivers have been able to get inside of his head a little bit. We've talked about playing the mind games throughout the races. However, as we well know, DJ Danny being the current champion of the previous season, he's coming in on a high, so there's a little bit of a benchmark for people to aim for, and maybe that's playing a factor, thinking, oh my god, I'm up against DJ Danny, or I'm up against HK. He's got to flip that around and think, no, I can compete with these guys, so let's get me head into the race and hopefully get a win in Canada today.
Well, in terms of the Drivers' Championship, it's still a matter of James F1 and HK more or less going head-to-head, because the 2 of them sitting first and third in the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting first and second in the constructors. But now with HK, with Ryan coming in, we've seen Ryan's pace before. We know that he could even challenge HK at times. Do you think this addition is going to be a positive for HK? Do you think it's going to give him one more driver that he has to worry about?
Considering he's just joined the season, so he will be starting off, if I'm looking at Ryan's position, he's got 6 points on the grid. I will fully expect for him to try and work with HK. Maybe if they were in a bit of a battle, HK might be asking, can I go past just to stay ahead of James and DJ Danny? That would be if that was me being a teammate, but obviously we don't know what conversations the 2 drivers have had. It's one to see how it plays out in this race, I guess. Until you see how the 2 have their chemistry together, we generally can only assume that they'll either battle or they'll play nice teammates.
Well, in terms of teammates, Sir Sharks, who's only found himself on the podium once, that was all the way back, if you remember, in Abu Dhabi, he got onto the bottom step of the podium, hasn't found himself back in the top 3 since. I mean, if you're racing point, at what point do you say, right, we need to either sacrifice Sharks, sacrifice the Constructors' Championship, and try to get James F1 into a winning position, or do you potentially sacrifice James's Drivers' Championship and go for the Constructors' Championship? Because it doesn't look like they're going to be able to work together and get into a position where they can try and win both.
No, it'll start appearing. I'm very much going to assume after either tonight's race or next week's for Singapore Grand Prix, they'll have to 100% agree. I agree with you. They'll have to sit down and work out which battle, as in either the drivers or the constructors, that they're going to battle for. In this stage of the race, the racing points are still in contention, as they say, for the drivers and for the constructors in the name of James F1. But I think Sir Sharks is going to have to play a number 2 role for the remainder of the season. That would be, in my eyes, that's for sure.
Well, and if you're Red Bull, and if you're HK and Ryan 97, you're right where you want Racing Point to be, because you know you're a point and a half behind.
Mm-hmm.
You have new driver coming through who's, in all fairness, quicker than your previous driver. You know, how much of a boost is that to Red Bull as a team?
Huge. End of day, we've talked about mind games because I haven't seen Ryan 97, but as you say, with your experience watching a few of the drivers here, saying that he's in a higher caliber to his former teammate, but that'll play huge mind games, thinking, I've got a better teammate, let's push for his constructors. But again, let's see if the conversations have been taking place as to whether he will play a number 2 role for HK in this final few races in the drivers. Please try and battle HK. We'll only find out tonight.
We are finally into the session, all connection issues aside, and I think I know exactly the person heading first onto the track, as he typically does. It is James F1 quickly out onto the track, and Kendo, I think we say this every week, he's headed out onto the soft tires, and with everybody revving their engines and getting ready to go so quickly, that lends me to believe that there's no rain in the forecast. We will bring you that here shortly, if I can pull that up. But James F1 out onto the track. Everybody has fitted the soft tires. Miles onto the hard tires, as he normally does, and I can't confirm now. We have a full dry race, so it'll be raw pace and raw ability is what will determine this Canadian Grand Prix here 8 rounds into this 11-round season. It is really getting to be crunch time, not only in the drivers but in the constructors, as we were just talking about there. Brief intermissions. James coming around that turn 10 hairpin, now down this long back straight. Kendo, as we do every week with James F1, for a lap around Canada.
Thank you very much. So, as always, they have to be careful, as I was just about to say, that wall of champion right there. However, he just was on the limit right there, and you have to be fully committed. So going into the first few turns, keeping as tight as you can. Clips the left curb, and unfortunately does not get the exit he wants. He got too far away from the curb, which has made him, unfortunately, have to withdraw his lap. And potentially have to be careful of other drivers behind, because there's a few drivers coming past him, and name of Liverpool Ewan.
The this flyer as well. We're on board with Rimac in the Renault, and it has been a fairly up and down season for Renault. It started out flying, and much in the same way, I think, Kendo, that Racing Point find themselves. The second driver just has not been able to really match, or even in this case come close to TJ Danny's results. And that's not typically down to pace, I don't think, but it's just down to consistency.
Yeah, once again, we've seen the power of DJ Danny, and sometimes it can be a bit of a nervousness about being in the number 2 C2, such a good quality driver. So could that have been playing a factor with Rimac this season? Don't believe he is, because what we've heard, what we've seen on the PlayStation side, he is quite a good driver, but he just hasn't been able to turn that sort of racing results across onto the Xbox. We don't know why. It could just be the pressure of having a teammate in the name of DJ Danny.
IRL F1 Maniac in the Toro Rosso coming across the line, going fourth fastest. His teammate setting a early pole position time of 108.6, so a great showing even so far from the Toro Rossos. Their way through the field now. Scartrix has moved up into second place on his first lap. Ryan 97 starting his well, now first lap in the Red Bull. He invalidated his first one, as you might have seen there on the track map, illuminated in red. So he gets a little bit of oversteer heading out of turn 2, and James F1 now setting that provisional pole time of 108.3. And I'm sure Ryan 97 will be doing everything he can as he sets the fastest first sector coming through the middle chicane now, and actually he spun it and found himself into the wall. Ryan 97 getting the power down far too early and finding himself right in the wall. So probably not the way he wanted to start his days in the Red Bull.
No, definitely not. The match just unfortunate. The fact he just got on the power ever so slightly early, as you mentioned, and as we mentioned before, consistency, the fractions of a second difference can be the reason between coming first and hitting into the wall, as we've just seen Ryan do.
DJ Danny now coming across the line, jumping up in place, beating his teammate by under 600ths of a second. So you can see the Renaults have a little bit of pace in them here this afternoon. Seems like everybody has dived into the pit lane once more with just over 12 minutes to go in this session. On board Murphy now, who's validated his lap. He looks like he's teeing up another flying lap. He's yet to set one, validated his first, is fully charged up the Romeo batteries, and looks like he's going to come soaring back down once more as he simply electing to peel into the pit lane. We're not too sure because he's invalidated it. He's taking that ever so pedestrian straight into the pit lane, but his teammate isn't being so pedestrian at the moment on the hard tires, which you've seen him do plenty of times this season. As he comes through the middle chicane now onto the long, bending back straight with that Alfa Romeo rear wing wide open. Takes as much curve as he possibly can, keep it on the track. He does that just indeed as he heads down into turn 10. If you get this right, absolutely slingshot you onto the main back straight, and it looks like he has gotten that right as he cranks up that Alfa Romeo battery all the way up to overtake 200 miles an hour and still increasing. There's 209, 210 there. Gets extremely close to the wall of champions, holds it together, comes across the line, goes 10th fastest, 1.5 seconds off our pole time at the moment, but remember, he's done that on the hard tires, so a great lap from Miles to start this one off.
Certainly is, and it goes to show that the speed that he does have. But again, will he be able to be consistent, considering we've talked about that? If I quickly have a look at the standings, where Miles is currently fourth in the championship on 48 points, so you can see he's able to keep up with them, but can he be consistently race on race? Time will tell. As we can see,
with Sir Sharks, he's cranked those Racing Point batteries up again. He looks like after invalidating his first flying lap, he's going to have another go on these tires as we've eclipsed the 10-minute mark, heading into turn 1, which quickly becomes turn 2. I can only assume how many people are begging for that outside line going through turn 1.
Oh, 100%, considering the fact that it's in a sense going to be the safest line, because I fully expect people getting a lot of action going aggressively into that first and second turn. However, in these sorts of races, you've just got to think about the first turn, get your nose through it all, and then you can focus on the race. So let's hope Sir Sharks can do just that.
Well, he's set the fastest middle sector as he peels through. The hairpin has a little bit of traffic in front of him that is blocking the track, and that is looked like a little bit of contact between the McLaren and the Racing Point. It doesn't look like that's really going to help out his lap as he probably abandons that one and was probably thinking he was on for a top 3 time because he had the fastest middle sector.
Totally.
That is not really what we wanted to see. We wanted to really see what that Racing Point was made of, and if that doesn't really sum up Sir Sharks' seat, I'm not entirely sure what does, because it was going so well until it really wasn't, almost back to the start-finish line.
Yeah, and it goes to show that the drivers who were on either an in-lap or an out-lap were clearly not paying attention to what was going on, and that has ultimately hurt Sir Sharks there, and that's just really unfortunate for Sir Sharks, to be honest. I don't know what else to say. Wrong place, wrong time.
Well, the top 4 all in the 1 minute 8 second mark, and one of those is the Toro Rosso of Liverpool Ewan, who heads down the back straight now. Has a little bit of a tow from an Alfa Romeo in front of him as he peels through the final chicane, keeps it off the wall of champions, comes across the line, goes 3rd fastest, jumping Ryan 97, a 108.4, so improving by about 2/10 on his previous lap, which held pole position at one point in this qualifying session. No longer does now, thanks to Scartrix's 1 minute .0. So the Hats up into pole position as things stand, but still plenty of time. 7 minutes and counting left to go in this session, but we're on board with DXT Miles now, who set a fastest first sector. As a yellow flag, looks like a Renault just trying to get out of the way of a few oncoming drivers of Mercedes. Looks to be doing the same thing. Romeo peeling through, taking a lot of curb, but keeping it on the track, keeping the lap valid as he heads through into the hairpin, a fastest middle sector as well. Could this be on for a cracker of a lap as he peels through the back straight now, negotiates a little bit of Renault traffic in front of him. Wide open on that rear wing. Keep it clean. No, he takes too much of the curb. We'll stay on board to just see that might have been a 108.1. That would have put him up into 2nd place had he not cut the second to final corner on the track. So again, Miles just not able to keep that consistency that he needs.
I'm gutted because, as you were saying, that looked to be a really solid drive there, but unfortunately, them small fractions have just cost him that invalidation, and he has to, with just coming up to 5 minutes 30, he's having to dart it across to the pits, get himself back in and straight back out. Will he be able to do it? We'll soon find out once his team is in front of him.
DJ Danny is back out onto another lap. He had to lift off the throttle there for fear of losing the back end, and he's kept it together. He's only gone less than a 10th faster than his last lap so far. Let's see how much quicker he can go than his 109.1 down this back straight. That rear wing box wide open on the Renault as he races down through the chicane, keeps it off champions, and actually goes a little far too much through the chicane. And that being deemed to have cut the corner. On board with Sir Sharks, who had previously invalidated his lap. Kendo, I think we're seeing a theme around here as he heads down into turns 1 and 2. I mean, there's plenty of corners to cut around here, and the track limits are extremely unforgiving.
And that's how it should be, considering the fact that it shows the caliber of drivers who are able to keep themselves on the track. Yes, one to the extreme of keeping it on the track, and that is a skill in itself. And you'll find the drivers who train and train and train to find them little fractions to be the difference between winning and losing, because at the moment we are here with Sir Sharks, who has just set a purple sector 2. Oh, this could be exciting. See what he can do as he comes down this back straight. And DRS is wide open.
Well, up ahead of him, I thought for a second the Renaults were working together, but they actually just both peeled into the pit lane themselves. Sir Sharks trying to set his first time of the session, does well to keep it on the track. Jumps up into fourth place, nice. A 108.5. The question's going to be, does he have time to get all the way back around into the pit lane and get out for another lap? Because we can see most of the field are in the pits, in the garage as of now. But someone also of note that hasn't set a lap, our championship leader, DXT HK, yet to set a lap, has done 2 laps on these soft tires, is gonna have a bit of a challenge here. He dives into the pit lane going as fast as humanly possible. He's gonna have to hope that he can get into the pit lane, get soft tires on, and get all the way back around to make the green light.
I know, and that's because he's had 2 runs, and both were invalidated for the same reason, that the last few turns just over-exceeding at the very end, and it goes to show the tenths of seconds could be the difference between a pole position and potentially coming in 8th or 9th. You can see the times are really, really close.
Well, Miles, trying to start his final flying lap, has actually managed to cut the first corner and invalidate his lap before he's even out of the first sector. So Miles might be stuck on that 109.6 unless he has time, which it looks like he will, to get back around to the start-finish line and get on to get another lap. But he'll have an extra lap done as he cuts the corner, trying to do everything he can to get back to the line. It looks like now Ryan 97 starting his flying lap for the final time with a minute and a half to go, as plenty of people now out on track. You can see just the congestion that is about to come up for this Honda-powered Red Bull. And Ryan 97, he's got a Toro Rosso in front of him, sets the fastest first sector, has his teammate in front of the Toro Rosso, who's overtaken now the Alfa Romeo. There's a Ferrari out. There's absolutely cars everywhere as things stand. Gets as wide as possible heading into that chicane, keeps it on the track. You can see plenty of drivers taking all and every single inch of the curve, getting as close as he can to the Alfa Romeo to get the toe. Fastest middle sector. Is his teammate gonna help him out? It looks like he is a little bit. Peels out of his way. And now Ryan 97 diving around to get as much of a toe anywhere he can find it into the final chicane. Now keeps it well off the curve. Ryan 97 gonna come across the line and go third fastest, 108.1. Still more than a tenth off of our current pole sitter, Scartrix, who took pole in Abu Dhabi. Hasn't done so since. Could he find himself back onto the top row of the grid again? DJ Danny on his lap as well, as I believe Scartrix has started his lap.
Yep, and HK. Yep,
HK starting his lap, so we'll stay on board with DJ Danny, who will, I believe, be the first of that crowd to come across the line. He has the Red Bull behind him, the Haas just now coming through the end of the middle sector, so you can see it there on the track map. DJ Danny taking the curbs well, heading across the line. Now you can see Racing Point getting quite squirrely. Gets his teammate, but doesn't get any more in front of him. 6th fastest for DJ Danny, which is not what he wanted. HK jumps up into 6th place, so that forces DJ Danny down into 7th. And can Scartrix rain on everyone's parade, who's actually invalidated his lap? Is Murphy going to try to come across the line? He's invalidated his lap, and that will be how qualifying ends. That was definitely, well, getting interesting is probably a bit of an understatement there at the end of the session, Kender.
Yeah, exactly, and just having a quick little look at the tyre situation. Liverpool Ewan set that time on 2-lap old tyres. So it's going to be a little bit interesting there compared to the rest of the field on tyre degradation going into the race. Will he be able to hold it?
Well, as everybody peels across the line now for the final time, Murphy has retired in the pits. So that is how qualifying ends. Scartrix picks up his 2nd pole of the season, hasn't done so since Abu Dhabi, getting out in front of Liverpool Ewan, who he starts alongside by under a 1/10 of a second. Ryan 97 on his Red Bull debut has James F1 for company beside him. And the other Racing Point will start down in 5th next to the other Red Bull. It's just simply flipped around. DJ Danny has a Mercedes of Matt Swainus to start next to him. Rimac and Murphy make out the top 10. McCurk in the Williams has RSF1 Maniac in the Toro Rosso alongside him. Ferramoto, who hasn't had his best run here in Canada so far, starts down in 13th. He has the McLaren of PJ for company. Jamie Roddy, who's stepping in for HRC, who was not available tonight, is down in 15th. He has the Ferrari of Leclerc next to him. Will Mick in the Haas tonight, down in 17th. We'll have DXT Miles, who starts from 18th place, and Jamie 29, who failed to set a lap, will start 19th. I think it's safe to say, Kendo, that we have a Red Bull Racing Point dogfight on our hands.
Yeah, it's setting itself up for a very exciting race, and the fact that I have seen before as well in the battles that the likes of Liverpool, Ewan, Scartrix have had in the past, as well as HK. So it does look like as though there's going to be a lot of other battles going on there. But you can see once again that constructors battle looking like it's going to play out in its entirety. Let's hope for a good race here in Canada.
Well, if this was F1 on track, you would think that the Toro Rosso of Liverpool Ewan might try to let his sister team by, but that is not even close to the case. Liverpool Ewan is going to do everything he can to keep the Red Bull behind him. But how much can James and Sir Sharks work together to try to pick off Ryan 97, or are they going to be more worried about HK behind them?
Well, that's the question. If it was me, I would always be trying to think positive and think of a driver in front. However, they do have to keep one eye on the opposition behind. But for me, move forward, but go in with a positive mindset going into this race. So we'll see how it fares out going into turn 1. That's going to be
speaking
exciting.
Speaking of drivers needing positive mindsets, a man who's trying to keep any sort of a Drivers' Championship challenge alive, DXT Miles, down in 18th place, just never really got going in qualifying, kept invalidating the laps. What can he do from the back of the pack today?
Wow. I am just reading some of the stuff that's been posted up in the drivers' thread. It's been a couple of things that's been going on within the setup. Seems as though there's a little bit of an issue going into setups as we talk about this. Sorry to just go a little bit to the side here. However, when it comes to setups, it's very important for drivers to have the right sort of fuel, stuff like that, as we now have had the ready up button in Leclerc give him that 30 seconds, so it's going to be lights out very, very soon.
As everybody ready's up on the grid here, then remember, no rain in the forecast here for a track that has seen plenty of weather-affected races. We won't have that here today. It is all eyes on the quickest they can go as we get ready for the formation lap where everyone can warm up their tires, warm up those brakes, and keep the engines cool, which sounds somewhat contradictory, but that is the task of the drivers out on the grid. As we get everything set up and ready to go. I'm wondering if DJ, Danny, and Rimac are going to have to really work together so that DJ Danny doesn't have to worry about the Mercedes that's behind him. Yep. And doesn't have to worry about the rest of the field. Rimac's going to have to play really the role of rear gunner for the next 35 laps.
Totally agree with you there. Considering the fact that, as we've talked about, Rimac hasn't had the best of seasons, this is definitely going to be a race DJ Danny needs his teammate to shine today and helping be that rear gunner, as you rightly say. And let's see them yellow Renault cars shine throughout the race here, and the DJ Danny pushes through the field, because bear in mind he has his arch rival in HK just in front of him. And for James F1, we'll talk about teammates, Shark's going to have to play a rear gunner as well, and to me he has HK and Danny right behind him, so it's going to be interesting going into the first few corners here tonight.
Well, the top 10 all starting on the soft tires. 11th, 12th, and 13th all starting on the mediums. PJ on the softs, Roddy on the hards, and the other McLaren. McClure, Mick on the softs as well. Miles on the mediums, and Jamie 29 on the softs. So Miles is going to have even bigger of a task as the grid forms up to try to keep that Mercedes behind him with the extra traction. He's going to get off of the line, but the green flag waves here as the last car forms up onto the grid. We are ready to race here in Montreal. As the lights come on, we have 3, 4, 5 red lights. We are racing in Canada. A lot of wheel spin off the line, but Liverpool Ewan has gotten a great start already alongside the Haas. Might have the inside line as Scartrix covers him off. The Racing Point has gotten into the Red Bull that had to take evasive action and take to the escape road, and that's allowed James F1 to get past Ryan 97. Sir Sharks still down in 5th place, and HK is falling down the field. It looks like he and a McLaren have had an incident which has put HK facing the wrong direction. There is loads of wing damage on that Red Bull. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1, but no safety car as of yet. Back at the front, James F1 really trying to hunt down Liverpool Ewan in front of him to keep tabs on Scartrix in front of him. Fairmoto and his teammate swap positions, and Miles has made up already 8 positions before the end of the first lap. And now James F1 is going to have the slipstream on the Toro Rosso in front of him, as Miles is going to have to now attack Fairmoto in front of him there, bumper to bumper as they head down the back straight. A little bit of contact may have been made between the Alfa Romeo and the Williams, who will give way heading into the chicane as they still go wheel to wheel. It's going to have to be the Williams that backs out of that one. Miles up into the top 10 before the end of the first lap. You can see the Williams into the pit lane, and we assume HK is going to be doing much of the same because of his wing damage. Might try to take hard tires to the end, but at the end of lap 1, Scartrix from Liverpool Ewan, James F1 right on his tail as well. Ryan 97 less than half a second behind the Racing Point, but the top 4 have started to distance themselves already here on the second lap, as now James F1 trying to get the move done on the Toro Rosso, has the inside line. James F1 great move from him up into second position. And as I mentioned, Sir Sharks now within just a second of the Red Bull in front of us. Ryan 97 looks to go around the outside of Liverpool Ewan, who we've seen had great defensive skills so far, but is almost about to lose 2 positions and just as many corners as they go racing down the back straight. But it's Liverpool Ewan that has the slipstream from the racing point in front of him, covers off the Red Bull as they head through the final chicane. Liverpool Ewan still managing to hold 3rd position. RS F1 Maniac up into 7th. Murphy up into 8th. DJ Danny falling down into 9th place. I wonder, Kendo, as DRS is now enabled. I wonder if Danny may have been involved in an incident going into turns 1, 2, and 3.
Hey, if I'm just going to have a quick look to see, has there been any issues with car? It doesn't appear to be off the camera angles IMC. Only, yeah, currently no damage on the car. However, as you say, could have been having to take avoiding action, because there was at the start of the race, you watching the front of the pack, I had a quick look at the back of the pack. There was a major incident.
Oh, there's an Alfa Romeo around.
Murphy
trying to get an overtake done on Maniac has found himself complete opposite direction, trying to get this Alfa Romeo turned around. He tried to go for a move down the inside. It didn't work, and hold that position as the McLaren has to check up and not get caught with the Alfa Romeo, who has just now gotten himself turned around. And now Rymac has found his way into 5th place in under a second behind Ryan 97. He has DRS, but so does 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ahead of him. Matt Swain is into the pit lane, potentially for damage on that first lap. I think he has already visited the pit lane once and has now fitted the medium tires to maybe do his best to get to the end of this race. Time penalties flying around everywhere. Kendo, I don't know if you've caught many of them, but so far we've had about 22 or something like that position changes in the first 4 laps.
Mental. Because, like I was saying, off the first start, what mainly caused the big pile-up at the back was Leclerc going deep in, completely lost his braking point and slammed into a couple of drives. Unfortunately, collected a few cars and front wings at the same time. So yeah, that was an unfortunate start. And then as we've just been watching Murphy having his spin, not having the best of time, as you see, just looking for the hard tyres there, but looking to go to the end potentially.
So nearly Liverpool Ewan trying to get a run at James F1, who doesn't have the benefit of DRS because he's 2.2 seconds down the road from Scartrix. You can see they're just waltzing away from the field. He's now 2.3 seconds, nearly 2.4 seconds is that gap from the Haas to the racing point. Liverpool Ewan is really starting to get onto the racing point gearbox now, but he does have to keep in mind as Jamie 29 picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. He does have to keep in mind, does the Toro Rosso, Ryan 97 right behind him, and Rymac is going to do everything he can to keep the Red Bull at bay to try to allow his teammate to come back into this fight, because we now have 2 what we thought were going to be rear gunners sitting in 5th and 6th. With DJ Danny sitting in 7th place. Going to have to figure out a way, are the Renaults, to get DJ Danny clear of Sir Sharks, and we expect probably the old switcheroo will be done to allow DJ Danny up into 5th place as soon as they get that move done. But it looks like now DJ Danny is scrapping with DXT Miles, who's gotten past the Renault into the chicane. And Sir Sharks has peeled into the pit lane, so probably damage on that racing point is the cause of that pit. As Ryan 97 is now trying to just claw his way onto the Toro Rosso. You can see there, it's a great shot from the overhead camera, but it doesn't get much better as there's trees lining this entire circuit. Sir Sharks and Leclerc into the pit lane. So Kendo, as you mentioned, Leclerc potentially the culprit of that early incident into the pit lane, presumably for a new front wing.
Yeah, and I can confirm Sir Sharks just, it must be his pit stop strategy, trying to do the long-term run on their mediums potentially. He did not have any wing damage, so that was, by the looks of things, a planned pit stop from Sir Sharks.
Liverpool Ewan is going to have DRS on James F1, who is trying to do everything he can to keep the Toro Rosso at bay, and does so for another lap. Heads into the pit lane himself. I think Kendo, the pit window might be open much more early than I think either of us expected it.
Well, exactly that, considering we have referred to at the start of the race, Liverpool Ewan was on 2 lap old tyres on his qualifying run, and he's staying out, while the rest of the drivers are starting to come in with, as I would call, the fresher tyres compared to Liverpool Ewan. So it was a surprise. I was expecting Ewan to be the first to pit, but it hasn't been the case.
That might come back to bite him here, because he no longer has the benefit of the racing point in front of him for DRS. He has the Red Bull starting to breathe down his gearbox, who does have DRS and doesn't have to worry about the Renault behind him. Will Ryan 97 send a move down the inside? Not this time around. He deems himself too far back, and I would have to agree with that assumption. But now he's about 0.4 of a second as we head onto the long back straight. DRS wide open on the Red Bull. Will he have a little look down the inside? Not this time around, as now both drivers peel into the pit lane. Scartrix leading the way out front. I believe has somehow managed to already lap a McLaren, it seems. So, Scartrix now still leading the race, and Miles has been promoted up in the second place due to the round of pit stops that we're seeing. 6.5 seconds behind the leader. But you can see plenty of pit stops being made. Liverpool Ewan getting out into 7th place, and I would assume Kendo, yep, you can see the Red Bull right there is right in the mix of things, and Sir Sharks is going to have to navigate around this McLaren to try to get around him and to start fighting with Liverpool Ewan and Ryan 97 again to protect his teammate, who's 6 and 6, has made his pit stop to protect him from these 2 Honda-powered cars that sit behind him.
Yeah, and Sir Sharks has managed to get past Jamie as of now, and he's trying to get himself back under the gearbox of Ryan 97. He's unfortunately this time round just out of that DRS with 1.4 seconds. Because to get the guys that have just joined us and looking, you need to be within a second to gain that DRS. So at the moment he's slightly out of it, but there's still a long way to go. This is lap 9 of 35 of the Canadian Grand Prix.
Well, Scartrix and DJ Danny into the pit lane. DJ Danny, medium tires. It's medium tires for everyone except Jamie Roddy, who started on those hards. McCark, who was involved in a first lap incident onto the hards as well. Murphy, hard tires for him. PJ down in 19th, hard tires for the McLaren. Everyone else on the medium compound of tires. Looks like Rimac is starting to close up behind one of the McLarens. Looks to make a move down the inside. He has the quicker bit of rubber, does the Renault. Has the move done before the corner. Up into 9th place for Rimac, who is actually still the lead Renault. And I'm thinking, Kendo, that it's probably going to stay that way, at least for a while longer, because the farther Rimac can climb himself up the field, the farther that DJ Danny can simply nick everybody and has been dispatched by his teammate.
Exactly that, and at the same time, will Rimac be able to play the fact that can DJ Danny use Rimac as a battery save and fuel save in a part of a race where he can actually go on deeper into the race and be able to challenge the rest of the drivers in front of him at the end of the race. So could that be the thing? As Jamie's unfortunately just retired, won the Wall of Champions.
He looks like he's lost it on the Wall of Champions. We'll be on board with Murphy here. The virtual safety car has been deployed. You see the Mercedes sitting right there in the middle of the track.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, I'm surprised that's not a full safety car if you ask me, but Kendo, that gives us a little bit of time to breathe, because after the first 10 laps, we've had plenty of action going on. The first round of pit stops have occurred and spread out the field ever so slightly. Now Miles into the pit lane under the virtual safety car.
Ooh.
So he's going to get the benefit of a bit of a cheap pit stop here, as does the Toro Rosso behind him. Fairmoto is actually now going to lead this race. The first time that the Williams has led a race all season. Leclerc drive-through penalty, speeding under the safety car. So for the first time all season, Fairmoto and Williams have a driver in the lead of a race. As he nicks the wall there, a bit of end plate flying off. That is not the way to lead a race, son. You have James F1 now breathing down your neck, and this is played entirely now into the hands of the Racing Point as he tries to close in on him. Won't make a move this time. You can almost be certain he's going to look to have a go at the Williams. Down into the hairpin will be the outside or the inside. Both these cars Mercedes powered. Who will brake later? It's James F1 around the outside, trying to get the move done there. Still wheel to wheel, but now James F1 will have the benefit of DRS because he was behind during the detection zone. Will be able to get away from Fairmoto, who led the race for about 3/4 of a lap.
Exactly
and,
that.
Is now about to lose another place to Scartrix in behind him, who has just now set a fast lap down the inside. Goes the Haas. That was a move quickly done and dusted. Scartrix up in the second place, has 2-lap fresher tires in the Racing Point in front of him. And I'm beginning to believe that Fairmoto himself might actually be on for a decent result today, because he's still sitting in 3rd place.
Yeah, exactly that. But bear in mind, he's on 11-lap old tyres, so there will be a point in the race he will be having to pit. And remember, he does have that front right end plate damage, so at some point in the race he'll be looking to pit. But at the moment, he's having a little bit of a battle with Liverpool Ewan. How long is he going to be able to deal with him? However, he goes a little deep, and Liverpool Ewan gets a nice launch out. DRS has about to be activated. It looks like it's going to be quite a straightforward overtake for Liverpool Ewan. He needs to get that move done to catch up to Scartrix and James F1, who was starting to pull away.
Miles has gone down the inside at the final chicane of Ryan 97. I don't think the Red Bull really expected that one, but a fast lap being set by Miles and potentially catching Ryan a bit off guard and a bit switched off as a McLaren peels out of the way, who's, I believe, already been lapped and doing well to simply clear himself out of the way, not get involved in what is racing for 4th place. As we are on lap 13 now, and HK, if you're keeping tabs on the championship, down in 14th. So not the place he wanted to be, and still 10 seconds adrift from 12th and 13th place, which are about to have a little coming together themselves. As we see Ryan 97 trying to regain that 4th position. It's actually now, it seems, Scartrix gaining on James F1, gaining. He's going to peel to the inside for the race lead. Scartrix and James F1 going wheel to wheel through the final chicane, but James F1 is going to lose out here because he didn't have the best line. Scartrix back into the lead of the race. And a great move from the Haas to force the Racing Point into the tighter line. And now
safety car.
We have a safety car has been deployed for PJ, who has ended his race at somewhere actually near the pit exit, actually at the end of the start finish line. That will actually benefit his teammate, who's sitting in 10th on 13-lap old tires. He can probably, I would think, Kendo, head on to medium tires and go to the end of this race.
Most certainly can, and don't forget we have HK in 14th position as well. He's about to go into the pit. Looks like he's about to pit for fresh mediums. He was running half the track, well, halfway around the track for the rest of the field. This is going to bring him straight back into this battle. So, to saving grace for HK in this race.
Looks like everybody, at least in the immediate in front of him, have gone on to fresh rubber as well as he passes around the safety car to catch up to the rest of the field. There's James F1 into the pit lane. Everybody else following as well. What will the strategy be here? All these teams now pitting. Medium tires on for the Racing Point. Doesn't get held up by the Alfa Romeo heading in front of him. Rimac and DJ Danny up into third and fourth. Neither of the Renaults looking to pit under this safety car. James F1 will just get out ahead of RSF1 Maniac. That was potentially a tight one, but that is now one less car the Racing Point needs to clear in order to get back up to the front. But he has the freshest of rubber because it doesn't look like anyone in front of him has pitted. I don't know if he's going to be able to do 20 laps on those medium tires. Ryan 97's gone for the hards. He's definitely going to be in good shape to go to the end of the race.
Goes Miles.
Miles behind him. Sir Shark's onto the softs, so he's definitely stopping again.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out the strategies, Kendo, because Renault not pitting either of their drivers has somewhat left them hung out to dry from James F1. I'm trying to figure out the decision to not pit either of them.
No, I'm really surprised the fact that they haven't done it. Potentially, it could be a case of looking to, at the start of a race, Rimac potentially allowed DJ Danny past, and Rimac allows him to be that rear gunner as we spoke about at the start of the stream, and allow DJ Danny to have that help to be able to then hit later on in the race. But it's assumptions we're all having to talk about. Considering the safety car's in, there's loads of strategies that can be played out. It's going to be mania, absolutely mental going into the next few laps to see who pits, who doesn't, who stays out, and who can hold on to their tyres at the end.
Well, for those just trying to keep track of who pitted under the safety car, James F1, Ryan 97, DXT Miles, Jamie Roddy, Sir Sharks, Kirk, Lil Mike, HK, Leclerc, and Murphy all pitted under this safety car. It's our second safety car of the race. We had a virtual safety car not too many laps ago as we approach the end of lap 16 here with 35 in Montreal. See, it looks like we're going to do yet another lap around the safety car. You can see there on the right-hand side of your screen a Ferrari, an Alfa Romeo, and a Mercedes still making their way to the back of the pack, and that is only going to benefit, the longer the safety car stays out, is only going to benefit James F1, Jamie Roddy, those that pitted under the safety car onto the mediums, because it's going to allow them to keep those alive for just a little bit longer, because obviously you don't take corners at 150 miles an hour under safety car conditions. You take them at maybe 40 or 50. And as you can see there, going down to 45 miles an hour in the Red Bull. But and you think it's just going to be immediately off the start, Renault pull the switcheroo and allow DJ Danny past her. You think it might be a few laps before they're able to get that done. Allow DJ Danny to negotiate James F1 behind him, because if they try to do it too early, James F1 might be able to get the both.
That's the gamble. If it was the likes of myself, I'd be trying to get it done as soon as possible. So potentially working off out of turn 3. That would be my best bet, to try and work it out to get around the outside or down the inside, however their communication is. But 100%, if they try to risk it going into turn 1, it's going to cause issues. We'll see how it planned out. As we can see, the safety car is now coming in. Scartrix is now effectively the safety car bunching up the rest of the field. Let's see how this safety car restart gets on. You can see them getting really bunched up.
More of a NASCAR restart going
yeah.
side by side with each other. The Scartrix doing everything he can in that American Haas to really cause that. Scartrix weaving, getting temperature into those medium tires is now underway. We are racing here once again in Montreal as they all file through the final chicane. You see someone getting a little bit too loose and getting a little bit of dust on that, but Liverpool Ewan is already under attack from DJ Denny's down the inside, and that's actually Rimac up into second place, and he might lose out to yet another Renault. Rimac covers him off, and DJ Denny is now all over the gearbox of Liverpool Ewan. Rimac up into second place, but already Scartrix 1.1 seconds up the road, but DJ Denny has, as they touch ever so slightly, banging wheels are the Racing Point and the Renault heading through turns 4 and 5. You can see now down the back straight, DJ Denny has lost out because of the battle fourth place with James F1, Ryan 97, 6th place now for him. DXT Miles 7th, Fair Moto, who led this race for about 3/4 of a lap, down in 8th place, and HK, if you're again keeping tabs on the championship, down in the 13th as well, make that 12th as he gets past the McLaren of Jamie Roddy, as we're still on board here with DJ Denny, who's doing his absolute best to keep the Racing Point with about 6 laps of fresher rubber on his car. And it's Liverpool Ewan and Rimac battling it out for second place. Ewan around the outside. It looks like Rimac has tried to keep with him, tucks in behind as they head into turns 3 and 4. Yet again, Liverpool Ewan going extremely wide there. You can see just the tires starting to go off. This is running extremely deep there is Rimac, and that's actually going to bring him under attack from his teammate as well, who's doing everything he can, is probably desperate to get past Rimac for third position to keep James F1 at bay. But at the moment, James F1 is breathing right down the gearbox. Will he send it down the inside? The Racing Point elects not to on this occasion. Nearly gets rear-ended by Ryan 97 in the Red Bull behind them, but it looks like now Liverpool Ewan has done a great job of reeling in Scartrix here at the front. We might have an overtake for the lead. It's Liverpool Ewan down the inside. Does he outbrake himself? No, he doesn't. You can see Scartrix peeling into the pit lane now. It almost looks like he didn't even want any part of that battle or battling for the lead. Yet again here, Rimac trying to move down the inside. Liverpool Ewan, a great defender that we know him to be, holding Rimac at bay. James F1 still all over the back of DJ Denny. This is playing into Racing Point's hands because Sir Sharks has jumped up into 8th place.
Very, very interesting. And the Scartrix has now gone onto the hard compound tyre. One thing, I don't think
hold that thought, Kendo. DJ Denny nearly had a look at his teammate and elected against it. Both of them having the DRS. DJ Denny on his teammate, and Rimac on the the Toro Rosso in front of him. But you can just see there the amount of traction, Kendo, that James F1 is getting compared to the Renaults and the leader in front of him.
It most certainly is. And it just goes to show that the straight line speed and the DRS plays a huge part as James F1 clatters into the wall and Miles south.
Has lost it about the wall of champions, it looks like. You can see there is, yeah, he's just completely lost the car at the wall of champions, getting power down too early, finding his front wheels gone as we watch Leclerc into the pit lane for this virtual safety car. A new front wing for him, medium tires on the Ferrari. Now he comes in 15th place. He'll stay ahead, I believe, of Jamie Roddy as we're back to green flag racing once more. Liverpool Ewan is going to immediately under attack from because he looks to have a late lunge, not that time around. You can just see how close the Renault is getting on that great camera angle that we're getting off the Toro Rosso. DJ Danny, his front three might have to potentially give way to James F1 at some point, because beginning to believe that these tires are probably on their final laps of racing use.
Yeah, 100% agree. The front three should have been trying to pit under the safety car, and just as we say that, you see Liverpool Ewan deciding to go in. The two Renault drivers deciding to stay out. Now, it's going to be who's going to get hit hardest for staying out longer. We'll soon find out.
Well, DJ Danny is probably going to be begging his teammate to let him pass at some point, because Rimac doesn't have the DRS, as James F1 shows a little bit of the outside wall there. We saw it was about 16 laps that Liverpool Ewan did on the medium tires. We're coming up on that point as now James F1 is all over the rear wing of DJ Danny. Can he have the move done? Both cars having DRS, negating each other, staying pat for this section of the track, but I'm not too sure that's going to last much longer, because now James F1, will he have a late lunge? No, he won't. Staying pat at this time. Ryan 97 has fallen 1.2 seconds behind this trio at the front. HK has managed to work himself up to 8th, so
the switch.
Here is the switch now. James F1 is going to look to do the exact same thing, and Rimac into the pit lane. It's a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and now DJ Danny surely will be under attack, and James F1 could be released, because that almost signifies to me, Kendo, that DJ Danny is going to be in this lap.
Yeah, totally agree. And at this point in the race, James F1 will be desperate to try and get past so he can stretch out that gap. And as we've seen, that Scartrix has just set the fastest lap on hard compound tyres. It just goes to show the pace that he does have. And as I was mentioning at the start of the stream, during the stream, we didn't notice Scartrix actually had wing damage. When he went to pit, he had to change his front wing.
James F1, probably knowing that DJ Danny is in this lap, is just staying pat for now, collecting the DRS, but getting held up by the Renault has allowed the Red Bull of Ryan 97 up into 3rd place, and a second behind him. HK, speaking of Red Bulls, up into 5th place, and now you can see James F1 playing a little bit of games, potentially trying not to allow DJ Danny into the pit lane. But James F1, who hasn't won a race at all this season, leading here with just about 10 laps to go here in Montreal. And you see DJ Danny onto another set of medium tires in the Renault. He's good to go to the end. His teammate gets past him, it looks like. Sir Sharks will get past him temporarily. They'll be racing on the exit. And he is somewhat comfortably ahead of the racing point. Now, actually at the front of the field yet again, Liverpool Ewan, 3-second time penalty for his troubles, but Maniac is now going to be under attack from Murphy in the Alfa Romeo. Toro Rosso needing all of the points they can. They lead the midfield battle as things stand. The midfield excluding Racing Point, Renault, and Red Bull, but the Alfa Romeo getting all over the back of the Toro Rosso. See now, he's just peeling to the inside, not allowing any overtakes down there. Ryan 97, 3 seconds for multiple excursions off of the track. You can see everybody now starting to calm down, except this battle that we have on screen here. Sir Sharks might actually potentially have a look at TJ Danny in the future. Rimac is still closing in on the Haas in front of him. Will he have a move down the inside? No, he won't. Sir Sharks, new fastest lap, 1:11.0. Scartrick's 5-second penalty, speeding in the pit lane, has retired from the session. You wonder if that's just frustration, Kenda, because we look at Rimac trying to make a move down the inside of the Haas. You wonder if that's just frustration, Kenda, because he had the strategy right, but the safety car absolutely destroyed any chance of getting on the podium here today.
It certainly was, and the fact that, as I mentioned not so long ago, he had front wing damage as well, which compounded that
Rimac looks to go down the inside, has that inside line. Womack giving him space. Does Rimac have the move done yet? It's still wheel to wheel with the Haas, has the benefit of DRS, squeezing him to the inside. Now Rimac repaying the favor up into 9th place, and his teammate getting past the Haas as well, losing 2 positions in one long straight is Lil Nick in the Haas, and might lose out yet again to Sir Sharks in the Racing Point, all of whom are trying to vie for the minor points positions here today, but it doesn't look like it's really going to pan out in the end, because the choice to go on to the medium tires under the safety car seems to be the way to go, but we still have about 9 laps left to go. James F1's going to be asking about 20 laps out of those medium tires. Could this promote Ryan 97 to the lead, especially because he's on the hard tires, which we know can do about 25 to 26 laps around here?
That is exactly what I'm thinking right now, but you've got from P1 down to P7, everyone is on quite a heavy stint of the tyres, but bear in mind Ryan is on harder compound tyres, as you just pointed out.
There's Fairmoto into the pit lane to promote his teammate up into 4th, and the 2 Renaults, they almost seem like they're dueling it out. There doesn't seem to be much teamwork being coordinated here, but that's DJ Danny up into 8th place. His teammate maybe reluctantly letting him pass, because it does seem as though Rimac has been the faster of the 2 Renaults around Canada, which we haven't seen much this season, but probably in the best interest for both of them to let them through. We may see another teammate switcheroo here with the Toro Rossos. This is Ewan getting his front wing right under his teammate's gearbox. You can see there, Maniac to the inside, Battery all the way down. His teammate Overpool Ewan up into 6th position now, released on somewhat fresh medium tires to go fight those at the front. The Toro Rosso might be on for a win here today, Kendo.
It could well be, and don't forget, you've got the likes of DJ Danny and Rimac that's just a little bit further behind as well, so them 3 could be coming into contention in the next couple of laps. As we were referring to the people in front, I suspect in the next couple of laps might need to pit. As we're just talking about pitting, Maniac has just gone and picked himself.
As we watch there, Overpool Ewan up into 5th place as well, getting past Murphy on the long back straight, and has almost gathered a 1 second lead over the Alfa Romeo, taking as much curve as he possibly can. Probably got a warning for that one, I would assume, in the Toro Rosso. You can see the top 4 separated by nearly 9 seconds. Probably over 9 seconds, about 10 seconds. So Liverpool Ewan, if he wants to win this race, has a little bit of work to do with about 7 laps to go. He's closing up on the Williams now. He will, looks like he will have DRS on as they pass through the detection zone into the hairpin. You can just see the amount of grip just by the lateness of the braking in the Toro Rosso. Half a second now is the gap to the Williams in front. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to have a move that time, and Rimac is starting to come under pressure from Sir Sharks behind him. They're both on the same strategy, but remember, it was DJ Danny getting the switcheroo done with his teammate, and now the Toro Rosso and the Red Bull, the Williams rather, getting their elbows out. Liverpool Ewan into fourth place, getting past the Williams, which would still be a very good result for the Williams. And speaking of Williams, Ferramoto, fastest lap of the race, down into the 110. So you can see that as the fuel load goes off, Kendo, these cars are getting extremely quick.
And bear in mind, Motorsport's only recently gone into the pits for them fresh soft tyres, and something else to consider, he's not in the top 10. So at the moment, the fastest lap will be irrelevant. Bear that in mind.
He does have about 3.5 seconds to make up on the Haas in front of him, who's done 15 laps on those hard times. But we're watching now this battle for 8th place, which is been stagnant at times. You can see Rimac just pacing himself behind his teammate, doesn't really want to get in his way as he tries to close the gap to the top 6. It doesn't really seem like TJ Danny is going to be overly a threat to the top 4, because as we mentioned, there's almost 10 seconds spanning between them. Liverpool Ewan has dropped the Williams down to 1.7 seconds now at the last time of asking. And Rimac is probably going to be begging DJ Danny, hey, can you go a little bit faster, please? I have this guy right down the back of my gearbox. I'd like to get him out of the way as DJ Danny. Onto the back of Murphy now, looking to get the move done. Murphy defending the inside line, forcing DJ Danny to the outside. A little bit squirrely, heading into chicane. DJ Danny up into 6. Can his teammate replicate that same thing with... we're nearing the 4 lap to go mark as James F1 is just now about to come across the final chicane. And Kendo, if you could do me a favor, keep an eye on the times between James F1 and Ryan 97. If they start closing up, we could be on for quite the finish here, because only about 3 seconds now is the gap, but Ryan 97 is going to be on the rubber that lasts quite a bit longer.
Oh yes, I most certainly will do that, that's for sure.
You see now for Romeo and this racing point going wheel to wheel. Sir Sharks trying to hang on to 8th place. And Murphy on those 17 lap old medium tires. You can just see there, he just lack a little bit of rear downforce. Sir Sharks up into 8th place as well. We had spoken beforehand of good showing from the second drivers. Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Sir Sharks up into 8th, Rimac up into 7th, and the Red Bulls 2nd and 3rd as things stand. So, just to make things ever more interesting in the Constructors' Championship, as well as now DJ Danny starting to close in on the Williams. He'll have the benefit of DRS, as will his teammate behind him. DJ Danny to the inside of the Williams. Elementary move from Renault into the top 5. Once again for DJ Danny, who's only failed to do that twice this season. Once when he crashed out in Germany, and last week when he finished outside of the top 5 in the wet conditions that is Monza as we had last week. But now Rimac clawing all over the back of the Williams, who's just doing everything he can to hang on to those tires and make the rubber last yet another 3 laps. But you can see Rimac doing everything he can to not only get past the Williams, but to keep the racing point behind him at bay, because this little scrap right here could mean a whole lot for the Constructors' Championship, which is only split by a handful of points at the moment. So any moves done at the back could potentially have impacts at the front. So we move on to lap 33, almost of 35, and DRS tucking in behind the Williams, now peels to the inside. Rimac, much like his teammate, moved done before the corner, up into 6th place. 5th and 6th for the Renaults as of now, and so Sharks is going to be looking to do much of the same to the Williams as he tries to go to the inside. Looks like he's still going to do to the outside, squeezes the Williams to the inside, bangs wheels ever so slightly. Sir Sharks 7th place now. As you can see, those 19-lap-old medium tires really starting to fade away. But Kendo, everybody at the front, 18, 19-lap-old medium tires, except Ryan 97, who still leads this race by over 3 seconds. And it doesn't look like anybody has DRS at the moment. Everybody outside of the 1 second range that you need, but Surf Sharks is now once again going to be closing in on the Renault of Rimac as they head through the hairpin for the 33rd time here today. So Ewan's starting to gain ever so slightly on HK in front of him. 19 laps on the medium tires, make that 20 laps now. 12 laps for Liverpool. Ewan right behind him just took a whole chunk of time out of the Red Bull in front of him. This could be a battle on the penultimate lap that we see play out for the next 2 laps as Maniac 5-second time penalty. Speeding in the pit lane, it won't make a difference. He's retired from the session. You can see HK doing everything he can to defend from the sister team behind him. Doesn't have the benefit of DRS. Liverpool Ewan does. You can see Willie sent it down the inside, not this time around. Liverpool Ewan staying pat. You can see HK just getting off his line ever so slightly. Willie have a move down into the hairpin. He'll look to go around the outside. HK is going to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and do everything he can. But it looks like now Liverpool Ewan is going to have 3rd position here on the penultimate lap as James F1 is about to round the final chicane for the second to last time here this afternoon and start the final lap. Ryan 97, a 3-second time penalty for his multiple excursions off the track. And it does look like now the strategy to go onto the hard tires hasn't quite paid off, but we have just under a lap to go to negotiate that. 1.9 seconds is the gap to the car in front. Look, Ryan 97 getting extremely loose, banging the wall.
Yeah, I'm just
7 seconds is that gap. 1.6 now. This could be very interesting at the end. If you're James F1, keep it on the track. If you're Ryan 97, give it everything that you have to go for this race win.
Well,
you could see time penalties come into play.
I've just been having a look at that. James F1 currently has two penalties. Ryan has 3. Liverpool Ewan has 1. So it's all going to come down to how close they are at the finish. This is going to be a mad one.
Well, that gap is about 2.5 seconds from Liverpool Ewan to the leader. James F1 is going to come across the line first. Will he stay that way? Ryan 97 down into 3rd. Liverpool Ewan and HK. Unbelievable drive from the Red Bull driver, starting 18th position. Wins here in Canada. Unbelievable from the Red Bull. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't even have a chance to have a look at HK's penalties. I'll just go and have a quick look at that because obviously with him winning the race, literally just a couple of warnings. Oh my goodness, not a single penalty. It just goes to show what the confidence in his driving ability. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
What an unbelievable drive. The man who was collected on the first lap and had to take to the escape road, had to pit the first lap, has come all the way from the back of the field, kept it clean. HK wins here in Canada. He's joined by Liverpool Ewan and DJ Danny, who steps onto the podium for the 5th time this season. That is leading all drivers by about 2 podiums. What a drive from HK, because that is just ridiculous. I didn't even consider him to be a member of this podium until really he crossed the line.
No, I didn't either. I was looking at the front 3, the difference in their penalties. Like you said, I generally did not even consider him to even get on the podium, but he has won your Canadian Grand Prix. Unbelievable, with Liverpool Union second, DJ Danny third. Here in James F1 4th, Ryan 5th, Sir Shark 6th, 7th is Rymac, 8th is Murphy, 9 is Leclerc, and to wrap up your top 10 is Fair Moto. And then down at the bottom, you have your unfortunate finishers that didn't quite make it onto the point scoring positions. I will currently get the drivers into the party so we can have our interviews. What a finish.
You can see they're the only two drivers. Managing not to collect any penalties found their way onto the podium, so if it doesn't speak to collecting penalties beforehand, it certainly does now if you haven't put that one together. But I did hear the rustling and bustling of DJ Danny in the party now. Danny, probably not the best qualifying, but you and Rymac working as a team to get back up to the front and onto the podium.
Yeah, I mean, after lap 1, it's not too bad. So yeah, down in, I think, 10th, something like that, by the end. But yeah, it was a good fight back.
What kind of, I'm guessing, what was the thought process, starting that far down? What were you trying to think and go through your head? What goes through your head when you have to make up so many positions to try to get onto the podium?
I think after lap 1, it was just making sure I kept it clean and obviously I got a few overtakes done, but it was just about managing the tyres, and obviously when the safety car came out, I knew that staying out was probably the only way I was going to get any chance of good points, because if I boxed up, my tyres would have just been too old, I think. I think it would have just been pointless, but who knows which way around it would have gone, but I think going for the fresh tyres was the right call.
Well, speaking of tyres, walk us through the decision for yourself and Rymac not to pit under the safety car, where James did, and I think we all thought that he was going to absolutely make a meal of you two, and you managed to keep him at bay.
Yeah, from the position I was, it was kind of like I saw them guys pit, and I thought if I pit myself, then I'm not going to catch them, because I think they're a little bit too quick for me around this track. So the only way I thought I could get by was by not pitting and staying out and getting track position. I mean, a few laps after the safety car, there was a VSC that literally came out just as we went past the pits, which I think if I got that went in under that VSC, well, I could have won the race potentially, but yeah, just a luck of the draw, really.
Well, you and for yourself, second place qualifying, managing to convert it into a podium. How much does that mean for you and for Toro Rosso as a team?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. That's 2 podiums in a row now for me. So on a personal note, that's good. And constructors improved a lot. So yeah, but I do feel like I could have got the win. So I sort of have mixed feelings, I suppose.
And you won the race for about half a second before AK came across the line and took it from you. But how? Yeah, I guess this race in particular speaks to the volumes of keep it on the track, just don't get penalties. I mean, how important do you think penalties really came into this place? So we saw drivers getting reorganized all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be fair, I've finished on track 3rd, so I can't complain the 2nd. So, but I thought getting only 1 penalty was pretty decent. I was like 3 seconds worth of penalties, like that's okay. But yeah, I don't know how HK managed to just not pick up a single penalty. It was good from him, but yeah.
Alrighty. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching. As we normally do, we don't have HK in the parties because for whatever reason he just doesn't have a microphone. We don't know. Anyway, next week, same time, same place, we head to the night streets of Singapore. And Daddy, you know all about Singapore. How is your pace look around there?
I've won it a few times, so it's a tough one.
And Ewan, how much concentration does a street track, whether it be Monaco, Baku, or Singapore, take in order to not only finish the race, but finish in a points position?
I mean, I think we've got a couple of them coming up. I think Monaco's the last race, and I think we've got 3 races left now, and 2 of them street circuits. So definitely, I think that's going to be important. Just staying out of trouble, just trying to keep it on the track. But yeah, hopefully I can get another podium.
Alrighty. Well, like I said, same time, same place. We head to Singapore next week. HK wins here in Montreal in rather astounding fashion, coming all the way back from 18th at one point in the race on lap 1 to win the race. So congratulations to him. He will continue to lead in the Drivers' Championship and until next week. We will see you then.